What are we thinking, guys? Where are we going to get a break to today?
James Dolan.
James Dolan, getting a break to James Dolan on 3. What are you feeling about that, John?
How about 1, 2, 3, Mamba?
1, 2, 3. Mamba?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Round number by Lakers fans. I got this. All right. Guys, Slumpbuster, round number, episode 60. Hands in the huddle. We're going to get a break to Mamba on 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Quiet on the set. Make sure my mic is on. There is Dre and Juju Dog diving towards the pylon. Go for 2, so damn rude. Recognize authority. Spitting tips for fantasy. No way you're outscoring me. Bold predictions with conviction every single day. Sports addiction, no restriction. Kicking game like Pele. He's the greatest. What's the basis? Pick an athlete. Let's debate this game. Outrageous trading places. Sudden death. Take 10 paces. Turn and shoot. Boys of truth. Mamba mentality. Future greats take their place. Dreams become reality. Low and outside, knocked it out the park. Your boy discovered fire like a rock with a spark. Refs acting like Neanderthals. Phantom flags, nothing calls. Heartbreak losses, tragic falls. Every week discuss it all. Settle in, listen up. Free your time like Andrew Luck. Show's about to start. I suggest you buckle up.
Mamba. R.I.P. Kobe. We miss you. 2020's been a rough year without you. So to start off, episode 60, of course, nice round number. It's awesome. Juju Talk Sports here, your host, joined, of course, by my co-host, Aundre Huynh. How are you doing, Dre?
Doing well, man. Just trying to survive COVID. That's all.
Yeah. And you know what they say? What's better than one awesome guest? How about 2? Starting things off, so introductions are in order. You heard him way back when, episode 31. Our second return guest to the Slumpbuster, Chris Lebron of the Off the Ball podcast, live from New York. How are you doing, Chris?
What's going on, guys? It's a pleasure to be back on the show. I'm excited to get into this conversation.
Fantastic. And, you know, to balance things out, so Dre, you were outnumbered, 3 Celtics fans, 1 podcast. I had to do the right thing, and I had to bring in my boy, Big Baby Jonathan of the Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast. Welcome on, John.
Thanks for having me on, you guys. I'm looking forward to the show, man. I'm excited.
Jonathan, before we get into the NBA as a whole, how are you just feeling about the Lakers title chances with like recent news like Avery Bradley and everyone sitting out?
I'm still got confidence in the world of my Lakers because we got LeBron James, AD, so not too worried about Avery Bradley because we got other guys who can contribute like KCP, J.R. Smith, Deion Waiters, and Kuzma too, and Alex Caruso, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm excited, though, for the Lakers season to start next week.
We got a J.R. Smith believer on this show, so we'll see. I mean, he's still trying to relive that moment or live down that moment. So redemption tour 2020.
I think if J.R. Smith wins the ring with the Lakers, all that with Cleveland goes out the window.
For sure.
I don't know. That's such a great meme. I don't want to let it go, even if like.
He's the king of the memes, man. He got great memes.
Yeah, he is.
Oh yeah, I mean, hi J.R. Smith. Like even before that moment was a great meme in itself. You know, legends never die. All right, guys. So we have some 3 core topics to get through before we get into just NBA restart as a whole. So starting off, we mentioned it on the last couple podcasts, the Washington Redskins. Just you talk about an organization in dire straits right now. They're doing worse than James Dolan right now. I'm telling you.
That's hard, and that's impressive. If you're worse than James Dolan, then you're pretty bad.
This organization's going through some rough times. So obviously they officially announced they are, in fact, retiring the Washington Redskins moniker. So now, Washington football franchise. We're still waiting on a name. Finally. We can maybe talk about some names that might be worth taking over that spot. But that's not the only Redskins news we got going on. In that same time span, 15 women formerly employed of the Redskins at various times over the last decade have stepped forward and mentioned Dan Snyder's inner circle as, to be frank, predators, sexual assault. Obviously, it's gross. We definitely have always took pride in like treating every guest we've had, every female guest we've had with here with nothing respect because their sports opinion matters just as much as ours. And it's a shame that like you go to this organization, you get to the major leagues of the NFL, right? And you have to deal with this bullshit. So, you know, like feel for them. Hopefully everything works out in that. But like when I mentioned like everything going on with the Redskins, I guess the initial question has to be, should Dan Snyder relinquish ownership? So I'm going to start off with our new guest here. Jonathan, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, I think the owner of the Washington team should sell the team because I'm actually Native American, and that those 2 words, I don't like it. Makes me angry. So I'm glad that the NFL sees that, tells them get rid of that and get a new name.
Okay. Dre, what about you? How you feeling like when you hear this, Dan Snyder, like his time in Washington? Like, how much longer is it? A ticking time bomb right now?
Honestly, I think this is just the perfect opportunity for him just to say, hey, the team is moving in a new direction, right? Like they've got a new coach, they're getting a new name, there's all these allegations. If there's any time like to sell a team, I think now would be it, and just say, hey, I'm going to look to get out of this business. And I mean, he obviously doesn't want to subject himself to make it seem that he's guilty. But at the same time, like, do you really want to go through all of these? And then if these allegations are substantiated, right, and you actually do find proof that these happen, things are just going to get worse. So he might as well just say, hey, it's time to move on. I'm going to relinquish the team. Washington's going to have new ownership, but you're still in good hands, at least to start the season. We know you got a new coaching staff. I think they could start this off on the right foot if they act quickly. But if they let things drag, right, going everything with the name, everything with all these allegations, then of course it's going to be hard on the team themselves. But as far as, the Snyder question, though, I absolutely think just get out now, sell the team.
All right, Chris. Now here's the question specifically for you. If you had to, James Dolan or Dan Snyder, who you taking this fall, this NBA season? Who's running that Knicks franchise?
Just gotta laugh. That's all. Oh my God, those choices. If I had to pick between those two, I'll take James Dolan. I guess I would take James over that. I mean, those allegations are pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And then, like we said before, I mean, he's been on this Redskins thing, keeping that name for this has been going on for at least a decade or so. That it's really been, since he's pretty much
two. Honestly, they've been running those polls back to the '90s. We were talking about that on the show a couple. Yeah,
so just like I always find it weird that they named their team name is after a skin color. Like that just rubs me the wrong way. Like, come on, like I mean, and the fact that people are like actually like, oh, but there's so much history behind that. And it's like, well, there's history behind like the Confederate flag, but like you shouldn't be like waving it and stuff like proud. Like that's not history you want. And like, just get rid of it. Just get rid of the name. What's like, you can keep, if you want to keep the same colors so you can, don't have to change that much. I know that's a big thing. Keep the colors, but the name, just get rid of the name. It's just a trash name. Like, and I think the big thing is like, they don't think that Native, like, because there's not a big population of Native Americans, and they think that because they're a small percentage, like it doesn't really matter. But if they're offended, then why haven't you taken more of a stance on like, all right, maybe we should consider it? Why did you wait once Nike was like, and NFL.com was like, we're not going to have your merchandise on it. Then it was like, oh, well, we're going to lose money now. Now let's do it. They wait till the money. Of course, they wait till the money, and then bam, let's make a decision. So I think it's trash. But and I know like we talk about James Dolan and saying he's the worst owner. Dan Snyder, to me, is number one worst owner. Like James Dolan, people think because we're in New York, it's New York City, everything always gets blown out of proportional. Like there's a lot of things like have gotten blown out. Like the Spike League thing, that's not really a big deal, but it's New York and we're really bad, so we might as well just keep trashing the Knicks. And that wasn't a big deal. And Spike was kind of in the wrong. Just go the other way, bro, and everything would have been fine. They blew it up, but Dan Snyder, he's trash. He's the worst owner in sports. He's garbage. He's treated his employees like garbage. I mean, all those allegations, are just gross. And but you know what? He's a stubborn man. Then the thought of him selling team is not. I don't even think it's in his mindset right now. He's got that James Dolan where, and not even thinking about selling the team. Like, no, it's not happening. Like, it's gonna take him to do, racial slurs like what happened with Donald Sterling. Like, it's gonna be something to that level. It seems like that's the only way to, that's gonna happen for him to sell the team. So, I don't think he's too stubborn to sell the team. So I don't think he's gonna do any of that. And like I said, he's way worse than James Dolan. And James Dolan's bad, but Snyder just blows him out of the water. Terrible.
Obviously we hear these allegations, and I don't want to just rush to like just substantiate them right away, because we've seen over time, these situations, there's a whole court proceedings. I mean, court of public opinion, like it has a lot of weight. Don't get me wrong. And obviously that's what we're talking about when it comes to Dan Snyder's ownership as a whole right here. But if they are even proven to be a little bit true, then yes, I think the NFL in that situation has every right to potentially do a Donald Sterling situation as well. Again, we'll just have to see how that one develops over time, because at the end of the day, one thing we've kind of like learned over time, don't believe men, don't believe women, believe like facts and evidence, and we'll see what kind of facts and evidence play out in terms of the Redskins situation as a whole. And you brought up some interesting points here, like does it matter like how much percentage is offended, like to like strip the name? I kind of understand in any of these tough arguments. I like to play devil's advocate, like see what the counter argument is. And Dan Snyder, at least for the most part, has been of the mind that I think a lot of old school Redskins fans are. You know, if you saw the Redskins in their heydays when they were winning titles in the 80s, the 70s, you probably just are so emotionally attached to that name.
Yeah, it's the attachment.
Yeah, it would be like similarly to, and obviously not nearly at the same scale because it is kind of weird just, you know, again, naming a team after a skin color. But if someone would say, oh, the 49ers like are a signal for Western expansion that displaced a lot of native people in that area, then I would probably feel some sort of way about it. You know, I'd be like, you know, that's kind of a stretch, guys. But it definitely is like one of those like unique situations. And I think if we're still having this argument over a course of 20 years, then that's probably just a matter of like, okay, I think it's just time. I mean, why even have this debate? Why even go to bat for it anymore? Because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Like, because if we're at this boiling point now, what's it going to be like in 2030, 2040, 2050? You know, just over time, it's just like at a certain point, someone just has to put their foot down and say, okay, it's over. This is it. So I think that's what FedEx did, what Nike did. And it had to be done at some point, you know, like we can't just keep having the same argument over and over and over again. It just is a vicious cycle. Any closing thoughts on the Redskins situation as a whole? What do you guys think?
What name do you think they should get? Like,
That's a
I
good
have one, Washington Warriors.
Okay. I've heard the Washington Warriors. My thing with it, I feel like it doesn't really roll off the tongue to me. Something about it just seems a little clunky. Like I like Pat McAfee's suggestion a little bit, like changing it from Washington to DC. So DC Warrior sounds a little bit more clean to me. I don't know how you guys feel about that. We had this interesting debate on the show as well. Like, so we're from New Mexico, big Navajo population as well. Code talkers. So the code talkers in World War II, those guys are heroes, legends. I've seen some debate within the Native community on this one as well of like, well, if we do that, then does the Navajo Nation have a claim to this entire football franchise? So, you know, little personal struggles there. What do you think? Code talkers, is that a good one? Or do you think over time that could also get bad over time?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really found the name that really sits with me with replacing the Redskins. I haven't really figured that out. But if there's a team that needs rebranding, it's in football, it's probably the Redskins. Like they're similar to the Knicks, where like, you know, they had good years in the 90s and stuff, and then as the 2000s turned, they've things have fallen apart. So they could definitely use the rebrand. I don't know a name that would be good, you know, that would be fine. They'll still be in last place every year. So, you know, it's not going to change. And my Giants are rebuilding. So, and that's saying a lot. But no, the Redskins are definitely, their defense is definitely improved. But I can't really think of a name. I've heard Red Tails. I don't really know. I haven't really thought of a name that would be solid. You know, that, you know, and I really don't know.
Any other names pop up in the last couple of weeks for you, Dre?
No real other names. You know, I've been really interested about the Red Tails and like the code talkers, right? So I do have some Native American family, but I'm only like, you know, 5% or 10%. So I figure it's not even worth my opinions on that. But I'd be interested, you know, to get your opinion, Jonathan. Do you feel that those names are, you know, offensive to Native Americans? Because I know you had said that you're part Native. So, or are you okay with it being like, you know, a Red Tail or code talkers?
My native culture is Lakota Sioux, and a lot of people I talk to, they're offended by it. You know, every time I want to talk about what's going on with the NFL DC team, they're like, no. So,
and that right there is reason why the Redskins name shouldn't be there. People are offended. He just said, you know, when they talk, they don't even like the word, like when you say football, you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about that team in DC. That should have been thought about years ago. You shouldn't have to wait till you lose sponsors. And FedEx is like, no, we're not messing with you. We're going to take away the FedEx sign on your stadium, and you're not going to use it because we don't want to be a part associated with that name. And why did it take all these years for this to happen? Like, this should have been done years ago. It shouldn't even been thought of. But obviously, whenever the name was originated, it's a lot different times. And but people have to come up with the time. It's 2020, man. It's 2020. Things just because it was in the past and its history and glory years of the Redskins, and people. That's the big thing. Like I said before, people talk about the history. Oh, the Super Bowls and those teams are so great, the Redskins, but the name is still trash. It's an offensive name. You wouldn't call the Brownskins. You wouldn't call them the Blackskins. skins, the white
Yeah.
skins, you know, but why Redskins? Why is that? Why was that okay? When whoever came up with that name in Washington, why did they say, you know what? Let's go with Redskins. It's just,
I mean,
I
I
crazy.
have kind of heard the stories behind it, like what kind of like came up. So from my understanding, Jim Thorpe, who has some sort of ties to Native American heritage as well, was part of the original naming. And, you know, maybe it's just one of those names, like even if like at the time where even Jim Thorpe, who identified as Native American himself, I don't really know like his exact genealogy there, but you know, I'm just taking him on his word. Well, if he was part of the naming process at the time, it's like, okay, but it's just one of those things where just, you know, something that was okay 50 years ago is not the same today. Like I love Married with Children. It's like a show I've been watching on Hulu.
I can't have it today. No.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's literally calling women fat. He's
you can't do that today.
He's slightly racist a little bit. Yeah. You know, you just can't. The levels of television have changed. Like with something like that, I could completely understand. What do you guys stand on the slippery slope arguments as well? Because we do have other teams, other franchises that are named after Native American traditions or names of some sort. So like the Florida Seminoles, the Cleveland Indians, the Braves, the Chiefs,
the Blackhawks.
Like where do you guys stand on those team names? Chris, I'll let you start on this one.
I honestly, it's I don't know with the Braves. I know they were, people wanted them to change their name and they said they weren't. I know the Indians, they changed their logo. I mean, they used to have the Chief and they changed it to just the C now. So, you know, they might change their name, you know. So, I mean, like I said, if people are taking offense to it and you should definitely consider changing these names. You know, if people are offended by it, you should definitely consider, you know, I know there's the Blackhawks too. I mean, and I don't know too much about those, you know, as much as about the Redskins situation, you know, if people are offended by those names. But if you are, and if there's, you know, like I said, even if the smallest percentage are offended, just change the name, because some of these, anything offensive for a sports team just shouldn't be happening. So I'm all for changing of names if that's the case, if they feel like it's just gonna, if it's offending people in any capacity.
Well, let me kind of like counter that one just a little bit here. Mm-hmm. So I've also seen a small percentage of people say that the Vikings is offensive. So if we're going to say that, you know, if a small percentage finds something offensive, should we always cater to that small percentage? Because the Vikings, okay, you could say they were pillagers, they raid, they burn things down.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm okay with skull chants still being chanted in Minnesota, you know, and I think
I just don't see a lot of Vikings around. I just don't see. There's not a lot of people. If I see them, then I might be a little worried.
So the point is, I'm mostly making there is just not always. One person is offended. Yeah. Like if Twitter's offended, just forget about it, because who gives a fuck about Twitter?
Honestly, but it just seems like with the Redskins, that's the one team that's like that. The skin color. That's the one. Like the other team names, I mean, I've heard some about the Blackhawks and the Indians and all that, but it's something about the Redskins. Okay. That's always, you know,
a very tough. Jonathan,
every team should change their name and just keep it pushing.
Let's just reshuffle. Everyone have a new name. Everyone just the Pittsburgh Silly Nannies. San Francisco.
Isn't that from like Family Guy?
That is. We actually did a reaction to that episode featuring the Silly Nannies. So go ahead and check that out, or better yet, subscribe to the Slumpbuster. I'm telling you guys, go ahead and do that. I think it's time to move on. But before we move on, let's give a quick shout out to Manscaped.com. Now, Manscaped, the #1 in men's grooming, 20% off with promo code SLUMP. Here is a quick word from them.
This is a message brought to you by the Foundation for a Perfect Package.
Why do I need Manscaped?
Why do I need Manscaped?
Why do I need Manscaped?
Because the only frill I want is the one up top.
Because being in a relationship is not an excuse to be lazy.
Because I like talking ball, not smelling like them.
Because deforestation is proven to prevent forest fires.
Manscaped is the only brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming.
Manscaped's Crop Preserver guarantees that you smell your best all day long.
Manscaped Boxer Briefs are the most comfortable underwear on the market.
Manscaped's advanced skincare technology makes nicks a thing of the past.
Manscaped is the #1 in men's grooming. Subscribers get 2 free blade refills every 3 months. Get 20% off plus free shipping and handling with the promo code SLUMP at manscaped.com. That's the promo code SLUMP at manscaped.com. Get your Lawnmower 3.0 today.
We are the Slumpbusters.
And we approve this message.
And guys, we are back. So once again, we are joined by Chris Lebron and Big Baby Jonathan. And of course, MMA Dre. I can't forget about you. You're my one and only, my day one. So
thank you, Juju.
Yeah, I know. We're all about love and positivity on this podcast. Coming off such a negative topic, we got to lighten that mood a little. We got to move on. We got to persevere. We have sports back this week, guys. Not just basketball. We'll get into basketball. I want to talk about baseball. I want to talk about America's pastime, America's now. And I don't give a damn about all the Rob Manfred stuff. I don't give a damn about the MLBPA. You know what I care about? This Thursday, we will have first pitch, and I want to see what happens in a 60-game baseball season. It will be something that we will never see again, hopefully, because baseball, I know what we're thinking. It's a slow-paced sport. I don't give a damn. It needs to be a marathon. That's what makes baseball baseball. Not everything needs to be a sprint, guys. I know we're all millennials. We're all tuned in. We all have to live every tweet by tweet. But no, I want to take it easy. I want to chill with my beer. I want to get some hot dogs. I want to be in – well, I can't be in that ballpark because COVID said no. But, I want to imagine I'm in that ballpark watching that game. And baseball, thank you for officially getting your shit together. Guys, some quick World Series favorites. What are we feeling on this one?
Dodgers, Yankees.
Dodgers, Yankees.
I second that.
You heard me talk about it long enough to
Yeah, I think I agree. It'll probably be Dodgers, Yankees, especially with a shortened season. Like, they just have the most talented teams, in my opinion. So.
Okay. So 60 games, like I mentioned, it is such a unique thing that we'll probably never see again. So I just wanted to kind of get your guys' odds. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think we'll see a 30 home run hitter this year? What are the percentages of that? I'll just go down the line here. Chris, to hit a 30 home runs, you have to literally average a home run every 2 games.
That's it, a home run. That's tough. We might see, maybe 20. We might see a 20 someone with 20, 19 home runs. It's going to be interesting because, if look at the Nationals last year. If we had 60 games, they wouldn't even have been in the playoffs. So we might get a surprising team. Like, I think the Yankees and Dodgers are going to be my World Series favorites, but will you be surprised if it's the freaking Padres versus, the Rays? Anything could happen in 60 games. I've known the Yankees have gone on to slow starts in the past, so, it's going to be interesting. And we're going to see some weird MVP front runners. We might get a random MVP this year, a random Cy Young winner. A lot of randomness is going to go on this year. And it's intriguing to also see that we're going to get a whole lot of randomness.
How many wins will this year's Cy Young winner have? Jonathan, go. Random number. We're playing the random number game.
23.
Damn, 23. Are they pitching every other day?
That's a lot.
We're going old school here. We're going I don't give a damn if your arm's blowing out, hanging off your shoulder. You are getting out there.
Just keep throwing it.
That means a reliever is going to win it.
Actually, that's a legit possibility. I'm hearing about a lot of teams that might change up their rotation, might change up their bullpens. Maybe they will go a 4-man rotation because the big concern not so much is how many games you play, it's how many innings you pitch. So in theory, you could do a 4-man rotation. You could just send guys out. The thing is, baseball has changed so much. Starters aren't as relied on anymore. Now you're seeing a lot of teams throw out these openers, these guys just out there for 3 innings. This year, actually, don't forget about, too, we do have some rule changes as well. Now there is a 3-batter minimum as well. So you can't just play I'm going to bring in the lefty to face the lefty. If you're sending out a guy, you're sending him out there for at least 3 batters. So that's important rule changes to keep in mind for this year's season. I'm jazzed. I got my first fantasy baseball draft in, and believe it or not, the Giants fan drafted Cody Bellinger in the first round. But sometimes you got to make some sacrifices. Sometimes you just got to risk it to get the biscuit. And I think I'm going Yankees too. I think that they
have the bullpen too.
They have the bullpen. They're finally getting healthy. They had a lot of injuries early on, but now with 3-month delay, all their big batters are back. Stanton might be healthy. I hope he can at least work out 60 games considering his contract. I think Aaron Judge should be fine. Paxton's back. The only one that's legitimately gone for them is Luis Severino, who, Tommy John surgery. What are you going to do? I mean, even the fastest hitters aren't coming back in less than a year. So I think they're in a good position. I've heard the A's is a sneaky team. I've heard the Braves potentially, and I like the Braves. I like Ronald Acuna. I like a lot of the guys on that young team. And hey, if Mike Trout officially does play, which I hear he's all systems go, I'm going to give a shout out to you, Dre. I think the Angels might be sneaky just because of their lineup and some of the things they've done.
Yeah, I hear Ohtani's looking good, so I'm excited about that.
Ohtani's looking good. Hey, there are going to be some stories there, and it's going to be interesting to just see these guys play with a mask on. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get into the main topic of today's show, the NBA restart plans. Obviously, we opened up with a little bit of Lakers topics here. Now, Chris, I want you to do a sad farewell to the Knicks season, as you will not be joining the real teams in the bubble this year.
That's all right. We're going to be good in like 10 years, so don't worry.
Yeah, 10
they
years
said that 10 years ago.
We have an optimist here.
This is a long build. This is a long rebound. Like I said, 20. It's going on year 21. So it's everything. Slow build. It's like wrestling. Slow build, and you build up to the finale, to the main event, and bam.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm in all seriousness, I want to ask you about the Eastern Conference here, because we're trying to build some title favorites. We're trying to see how this will come out. Do you think it is entirely the Bucks division, or do you think that some team could be sneaky there? Who's the sneaky little bee? Who's that buzzy?
Milwaukee is in a tough situation. Obviously Giannis is probably going to win the MVP again, but can he overcome what happened last year? Being up 2-0, and the way Toronto changed up their whole defense and said, we're going to stop you a half court. All you can do is get to the hole. We're not going to let you go to the hole. And obviously he's improved with his jump shot, but that's going to be interesting to see how him and Chris Middleton will work. Chris Middleton's been great this year, tremendous season, all-star season, but he has a lot of pressure on him. But your Celtics, man. And I hate to say it, but the Celtics are, to me, a very dangerous team. Jason Tatum took his game to a next level this year. All-star season, tremendous season. Still can't believe that the Sixers didn't take him. And I won't understand how he wasn't the number one pick, but that's for another day. But Jaylen Brown, obviously, Marcus Smart. I mean, they're definitely my. I would not be surprised if they beat the Bucks. It just wouldn't surprise me, because, like I said, the Bucks have a lot of pressure, and losing Malcolm Brogdon to me is going to be huge. I don't think people realize how good of a player he is. I know he was banged up this year for Indiana, and if Oladipo were healthy, I think Indiana would be one of the surprising teams too. But he's banged; he's still coming back from that leg injury, so they're definitely would have been a team surprising. But Boston, man, Jason Tatum, I think he's going to take his game to the next level of this playoffs, and this is where you become a legend. You take that the playoffs is where you can become a star, but you could become a superstar in the playoffs, and we've seen guys take that next step. So I like Boston. I hate to say it; it bothers me that I'm saying it, but I think Boston. I have Milwaukee right now come out the East, but like I said, I would not be surprised if Boston takes down Milwaukee in 6 games and they represent the East in the finals.
Tell me real quick. So, the 76ers, no hope for them? They're going to play the Celtics in that first round, which will be a tough contested series. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I just don't think they have enough perimeter shoot. And unless Ben Simmons learned how to shoot in the last 3-4 months, I just don't think they're going to have enough scoring power to compete with Boston. They were my preseason favorites to represent the East, but I think the loss of, losing J.J. Redick is going to be huge in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler, that's going to be huge. Picking Tobias Harris over him, to me, is still a huge mistake. I know Jimmy can ruffle some feathers, and maybe they didn't like that. But to give Tobias Harris almost $200 million over Jimmy Butler, who's a proven player, big-time shots, can defend, and I'll never understand that. But I think those losses are really going to hurt. And Al Horford has just been – he's been just bad this year. And he can't really move. And him and Embiid together, that's disastrous. It's very disastrous. So I just don't like the Sixers this year, and I think they might have to blow it up if they lose in the first round. So it's gonna be interesting to see how things go for the 76ers.
All right, well, let's move out west. Before I do that, just love the Celtics takes. I
hate to say it, man. It pains me.
But all right, Jonathan. So you mentioned, like you said, you still see the Lakers as a favorite this year, but obviously you talk Lakers all the time. Tell me about the competition. Is there anyone that really worries you? Is it just purely the Clippers, or are you – I mean, Rockets are starting to get some love as a dark horse too.
I'm going to say the LA Clippers are a team that's going to be a competitive battle with. During the season, I was like, no, it's not. And then I'll be realistic. That's going to be our toughest opponent. You know what I mean? So we just got to buckle down, play Laker basketball. We beat the Clippers before, so I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that yet. So I'm just excited for the season to start next week.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it too. I think the Lakers have a really good shot still. I am a little bit worried about Avery Bradley, though. I think Avery Bradley was, really key in that win that we had over the Clippers and over the Raptors, the Bucks that we had. So I am a little bit worried about that. Rajon Rondo. So here's sort of a hot take from me and Jonathan. I want to get your thoughts. I actually like our team more without having to get Rondo minutes. I think Rondo, he can still do some things at, an all-star level more when it's around like passing and sometimes the defensive end. But I actually think it's better to get guys like Alex Caruso more involved or Quinn Cook. What do you think, Jonathan? Do you think, how do you think those losses impact the team?
The Avery Bradley one is going to be tough, but KCP, when KCP steps in the starting lineup for Avery Bradley, Lakers are 17-3. So it'll be fun there. And then Rondo, he'll be missed, but we got LeBron. We got LeBron, play point, Caruso, Quinn Cook, like you said. So I'm not really too worried about Rondo either. But we'll see what happens. 6 to 8 weeks. That's the thing, though. If he's out 6 to 8 weeks, Caruso's on a rhythm. What does Frank Vogel do there? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's
rotations.
Rotations might go back and forth, but we just got to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, that's my big concern, especially because Frank Vogel, even though he had his run as a head coach prior to the Lakers, he's never been in the situation where he has to choose, do you do what's best for the team, even if it's kind of a nobody, right? Like very few people outside of Lakers fans know Alex Caruso, or do you put in Rajon Rondo, who might not actually be like that great and might not help you win as much as Caruso, but he's got the big name and LeBron is going to be like, hey, that's my boy. You got to play, Rajon Rondo over, Alex Caruso, who's only been in the league for 3 years now, 2-3 years. So I 100% agree with you. I think that's going to be a tough decision. And how do you balance out those rotations when you do get Rajon Rondo back?
So let's open the floor to just overall now merging both conferences. So, going a little bit more on the Celtics, I agree with a lot of things you're saying, Chris. I am starting to buy more into Jason Tatum's development. You go back to the last time that the Celtics and Lakers played, where LeBron's saying that he felt like Jason Tatum was the best player on the floor that night. And I agree. I go back to his rookie year when he's dunking on LeBron. And, it told me the star was in that moment. But in the sophomore year when Kyrie came back, just the entire chemistry was just off. Kyrie decided he wanted to turn into Russell Westbrook for the remainder of that series. And Paul Pierce apparently just cursed us with that whole, I think now they're going to win it in 5. It's like,
when they won the first game.
Take a huge step back. You're worse than Dwayne Wade. I'm just going to call it. And, and that's unbiased Celtics take there. Paul Pierce, I love you. Dwayne's better. Done.
Of course.
Okay. But anyway, so, I like them. And it's just all going to come down to Brad Stevens for me. Can Brad scheme something up to slow down Giannis? I don't think Giannis is LeBron James or even close to where LeBron James was at his peak whenever LeBron was just running through the Celtics year after year. When I think back to, again, Tatum's first year, his rookie year, that LeBron was on a different level than where Giannis is now. What he was able to do to take control on a very depleted Cavaliers team, I don't think that Giannis can do that, really. It's going to come down to the other guys. Is Chris Middleton going to be good? Is some of their other core
Bledsoe. Bledsoe had dealt with COVID, so it's going to be interesting to see how he responds back. With his, because we've seen people who have had COVID and they have a lot of breathing issues. So that's going to be interesting to see how he's able to come in and just work with the team.
I'm not worried too much about Drew Bledsoe. Shout out to you, Terry Rozier. But I guess we'll see how that plays. I'd love a Lakers Celtics finals. Yeah. What about it, guys? Come on.
Yeah, I'm with it, and we're gonna get that 17 championship.
Oh no! I'm
feeling
banner 18 flying up.
No, we need to get revenge again. 2008.
Wait, so no Memphis Nets love? We don't want to see Memphis versus Brooklyn?
What about Sacramento and Orlando?
Well, Marvin Bagley just got hurt again, so I don't know about that.
Let's talk about that fight for those final playoff spots here. You know, who are you guys favoriting to lock that up? Do you think Memphis is going to just shore things up in the 8th spot?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's you have to stay within 4 games to play in that playing game. I think Memphis can do enough to hold off whoever. I think the Blazers are 3.5 games. New Orleans. I don't know what's going on with Zion. I know he left the bubble, so I don't know if he leaves the bubble. Does he have to quarantine for 2 weeks? So that's going to be. I don't know how they're going to handle that. So that's So I don't think New Orleans has enough. The Blazers are probably the biggest competition. And like I said, Sacramento, they lost Bags. So I don't know.
Speaking of that, breaking news: he's out for the restart just now. Shams just tweeted it.
No, there it is.
Yep. All right. So, no more Pelicans.
Well, like we said, no more Pelicans. We just broke it. No, so the Pelicans are out.
Breaking news
by the Slumpbuster.
So it's going to come down to Memphis and Portland, and I think Memphis is just I think a lot of I saw people had them finishing last in the West. And the fact that they only 1 game under 500, and with that such a young team, with Jackson and obviously John Morant playing at, he's the runaway Rookie of the Year. It's official. He will win Rookie of the Year because Zion's not going to play, so it's his, and he was going to win it anyway. I love Zion, but it's Ja's to win. But yeah, I think Memphis is gonna take it, and in the East, it doesn't really matter in the East.
No, not at all. I mean,
it doesn't even matter in the East.
You talk about the Nets, though. That team's whole situation.
Yeah, I feel bad. I mean, they're gonna have like a G League team play. They might need us. Quite frankly, I could play a couple minutes. I could definitely play a couple minutes.
I can shoot that mid-range, so I'll be in there.
I can use those 6 fouls in like a minute. So, let's go.
The problem with that is Dre and I, we played wrestlers basketball. We'll straight up tackle you.
Well, yeah,
you try driving the hoop, you're getting body slammed.
Yeah.
I'm getting ejected too. We're using all 6 fouls, 2 T's. I'm using all. Why not? Go.
Some elbows in there. I mean, why not? I mean, you got to be Brooklyn strong. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
What's their hashtag? We go hard?
Oh, I hate their hashtags.
I
hate everything about them.
It honestly was. It's not a very good hashtag. Like I feel like there's some teams like Twitter emojis that like, okay, that makes sense. Lake Show, I'm with it. See us rise. Okay, cool. But like, we go hard. Really? That's what your marketing department.
You know what they have? They have Brooklyn is thorough, rhyming with borough. Yeah. It's horrible. It's literally the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And even Nets fans that I know, I have a lot of Nets fans who are friends, they like, that's horrible. Brooklyn is thorough. It's just a horrible hashtag. But they just don't have a good hashtag team. They need to fire the hashtag team. Whoever's in control of the hashtag team need to fire.
I think the worst is, man, like I have to tag all our posts. All those dank memes need some solid hashtags.
Yes.
Whenever I have to tag a Steelers post, here we go. Why are you guys here we go? That makes zero sense when you have the durable towel, the steel curtain.
Yeah, and steel curtains is like, you go with that. That's such a strong, like, so much history behind that. Like,
and you go with here we go.
Nobody's, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that was their thing. I just think steel curtain.
Explain your team. Explain your team's marketing department here.
I mean, I have no idea. It's just tradition. Everybody understands it, Juju. That's all.
It's a meme. Here we go again. It's like the Exhibit video game meme, literally.
Yeah.
No, I really don't understand. I mean, I guess being a fan, I never looked at it as that weird. And now that we're actually having this conversation, I'm like, you know what? Like, that is a little bit lame. Like,
it's corny. It's super corny.
Yeah. But like I said, as a fan, I never realized it until like now we're having this conversation. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see where you guys are coming from.
Hashtag burst your bubble, though. There's also been obviously all the stories of everyone trying to get Postmates or Uber Eats and just like bringing all these girls into the bubble. Yeah. If I had to take a poll out of the teams that are remaining in this bubble, who's most likely to fuck it up? I'm going to leave the floor open to you, gentlemen.
You talking about like fucking it up by like stoppage of the season?
Well, yeah. Let's talk.
It's got to be a young team. It's going to be a young team.
Like it's going to be one that I feel has nothing left to play for, but still has to be in this bubble.
Sacramento.
Phoenix.
Yeah, Sacramento, I was going to say Phoenix.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those young teams. So Phoenix or Sacramento would definitely blow it. I mean, Sacramento, they already had a guy with the guy Holmes messed, with the Postmates or the Grubhub. He's already, messed it up. So, and I think it's one of those teams for sure. It's a young team. It's definitely a young team. LeBron's not going to do something stupid like that. And even if he does something like that, they'd be like, okay, just go back inside. Go back inside. They'd be like, no one saw nothing. Security cameras go down suddenly. Oh, we don't have no footage of LeBron inside. Oh, they would tamper the cameras if LeBron did something like that. But it's definitely one of those young, stupid guys that just are not thinking. They're gonna bring, a groupie or or food. It's definitely like Sacramento or like the Wizards. I keep forgetting that they're even in it. They'll do some dumb like that because they're like they don't even know why they're there. They're like, why are we here? Beal's not even playing. Come on, guys. Like, why are we here? Like, it's a waste of time. But it's gonna be one of those teams. The Nets too, because they don't even know who's on the team. Anyone can say, yeah, I'm playing for the Nets. And so it's gonna be one of those teams that just don't care.
Yeah, and the Wizards have
they're a week.
Yeah.
And the Wizards have the worst record, right? So they have the worst chance at making it into the actual playoffs. So I think you're exactly right, Chris. Like, they're just down there for vacation. They're going to play some basketball and
practice. You might as well practice.
J.R. Smith's about to fuck this up for everyone.
No,
I'm kidding.
No.
Jason Tatum is for you guys.
Whoa, come on. You're coming after Jason Tatum. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with that one?
It's like your Celtics rival, man. I gotta do it.
We're just gonna send a spy, just dress as one of the bellboys in the hotel, just to cough on LeBron.
I wonder where he's sitting. Like, what kind of room he has? He must have his own.
He has a bunch of stuff to himself.
He has his own floor.
LeBron definitely has a whole hotel. LeBron could afford a whole Hilton. I'm gonna say
he's not getting regular the food they're getting. You see the food they're getting, they're getting lunch, Lunchables and stuff stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
LeBron's not he's not rolling with that. He definitely has his own floor. He has his own, his cook, his own chef and all that. There's no way he's living like a regular person. He's way above that.
What's funny, Chris? Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing, though, is Joel Embiid tweeted out those photos or whatever on his Instagram showing the food that they were getting. I'm like, how come they have not hired professional chefs down there, cooking it up 24/7? They've got all kinds of money. That's what I would be doing.
They definitely have the money. They're not poor at all, these teams. So I don't know why they don't have chefs. Come on. And I understand, those are high performance athletes. Mm-hmm. And if you're a fan, you want to see them perform at a high level. So feed these guys. Don't feed them regular cafeteria food. That a 5'8", myself, I'm 5'10", 200 pounds. These guys are 6'8", 9, 10, 7 foot, 260 pounds. They can't eat regular crap food like that. They have to eat good in order to perform at a high level if you want to see good basketball. So it's I don't get why they don't have chefs. Come on, you can have a chef, for each team and separate them. It's possible. I don't understand.
That's why Zion's out, because he didn't get his gumbo and everything that they were feeding him down there in New Orleans. So
he was definitely working out.
Hey, gumbo definitely has high protein. I'm not discounting some solid New Orleans cooking. Got that Cajun flair to it.
For sure.
But everyone's got to eat. We got to eat. You know what you need to get a solid meal these days? You need a little bit more cash in your pocket. So let me tell you about RazorSport.com. That's our second sponsor, Razor, R-A-Z-E-R Sport.com. Here's a quick message from them.
I'm LeBron James. No, I'm not. But I'm the king when it comes to sports betting. Bet Razor. RazorSport.com.
All right, guys, we are back, and it is time for the final stretch run of the show. Jonathan, this is obviously your first time on the podcast. Chris, it's been a while, so I have to remember, what was your favorite all-time sports movie?
It's either He Got Game or Jerry Maguire.
Okay. Now, Jonathan, that is the cue, because we do ask all our guests this before they leave. Mm-hmm. Your favorite all-time sports movie. Where are you leaning on this one?
He Got Game and Remember the Titans.
Okay. So mutual agreement there on He Got Game. I don't know. Why don't you guys tell me a little bit about that movie right there? Because, for the non-basketball movie audience.
He Got Game was just legendary. Growing up in New York City, and I always wanted to go to Lincoln High School. That was my dream high school. So just that whole story, and growing up being a Stephon Marbury fan. And it was kind of about Stephon Marbury, the story. And, it just, Denzel is my favorite actor. So that was a big, and it was just a story. And then to me, what makes it is growing up and then see when he goes to the recruiting trip And like I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like, and obviously, if you see in the movie, he has a good time for sure in that recruiting trip. So that was like, oh my god, that's so cool. I that's what I want to do. I want to go to Lincoln High School and I want to go on a recruiting trip and hang out with some girls. So that was definitely. But the movie is just the story is great to see. His dad wants him to pick a school, and then eventually he picks the school that his dad wants him to go to, and just the whole story, and then the New York presence in that. It's definitely my favorite basketball movie for sure.
Jonathan, what about you? Like, why is He Got Game the superior sports movie?
I liked it because it was very passionate and had a lot of ups and downs, and Ray Allen overcame a lot in that movie. And Spike Lee did say, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that Kobe was supposed to be playing He Got Game instead of Ray Allen.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. But Ray Allen did a tremendous job, though.
Yeah, he did a tremendous job. He did a tremendous job. I just like that movie overall. Denzel, Ray Allen's competitive nature, playing that physical, tough. It was a good movie. That's one of my favorites.
Okay, guys. Well, I need you to plug where to find you, where to listen, all that good stuff. So starting off with you first, Chris, tell the people, educate the people, let them know.
Yes. So I host the Off the Ball podcast, and you can find me Off the Ball Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can also find the podcast available on all podcast platforms, also on YouTube. You can find me there. I've had some cool guests on the show. The last few months, I've had some future NBA draft prospects on the show, so you could check those out. Some really cool stuff. And what I loved about those shows, not just talking about basketball and their future, but their stories. How they got to where they are right now, and the journey. I think that's such a great thing to learn about someone's journey to how they got where they got, all the ups and downs, and all the trial and tribulations. So that's fun. And then I got some more projects coming up. Doing some NBA draft stuff. I'm starting a new series, doing some mock drafts with some of the most talented NBA draft people that that are not on ESPN and Fox Sports and all these big time networks, but they're so talented, and I just want to get their names out there and do some stuff with them. So I'm excited about. I got some more projects down the line that I'm really excited about, and that I'm working on. So I'm excited about that, and I'll definitely have more details about that. But you can find me there, like I said, podcast available on all podcast platforms. Find me on social media. I'm active there, so just hit me up, and that's pretty much it.
All righty. Big Baby Jonathan. So before you start plugging everything, I do also have to ask, Big Baby, how does a Lakers fan end up with the nickname of Celtics great? Big Baby Davis.
My brother made me that name because I would get very competitive on the court. How Big Baby would get competitive and tears would start coming. Brother was like, quit being like that, Big Baby. And then, my brother was the one that made my Twitter account and all that stuff. So.
Oh, nice.
Because I wasn't really in this. Now I'm good on social media, and then my brother made it for me, and the rest is history. So,
okay, well, we're gonna make Big Baby yours and yours only. So to do that, we need all the people to listen to you. So tell them where they can find you.
YouTube, Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast, Anchor app, Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast, Facebook, Big Baby Jonathan Sports Podcast, and. Yeah, man, I love what I do. Very passionate. I just had on Antonio Williams, former scout for the Phoenix Suns, was on it today. It's going to be dropped tonight. And then I had Mark Medina from USA Today on a couple weeks ago. So I'm just very passionate what I do. I got some great projects coming very soon. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, he's in the bubble too, Mark Medina, right?
Yeah, he's in the bubble.
Yeah.
All right, Dre, I just got to ask you, anything going on with MMA 101 that you want to let the Slumpbuster audience know?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, we've had some really good fights. So recently there was the Kamaru Usman fight. With that, Max Holloway was also fighting. A lot of people think that he got robbed. I personally don't think so. You think so, Chris?
Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
He got robbed, man.
I mean,
good fight.
It was a good fight. I wouldn't call it a robbery. I would say that it could have gone either way, but we'll be diving into all that stuff. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, guys, you listened to it. Episode 60 in the books. Go ahead and find us on IG at Slumpbuster Podcast, on Twitter at Slumpbuster Pod, all major streaming platforms. But don't just listen. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that review button. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. And we'll see you next time.